Got a lot to talk about as it pertains to just all around superheroes / just behind the cape news. So to start, go ahead and give us some Star Wars news.
What happened in Star Wars this week? I know everybody saw the Mandalorian episode that starred a certain Jedi who was helping Grogu escape when Order 66 was being carried out. That character, that Jedi, was the voice actor of Jar Jar Binks. Now let me tell you how crazy the internet has made collective thought or just like sentiments are based off of what trends are online or what have you in social media. Is because while, in my later years, I learned kind of what the problems and the inaccuracies of the prequel trilogy or not just necessarily what people didn't like about them. But while I was watching them joints in the early 2000s, again, that's my adolescence years. I was born in 93. So like watching that shit on the screen for the first time, New Hope was not necessarily, I had seen New Hope, had seen Empire Strikes Back, but you talking to somebody who's under 10 years old trying to digest all of that. So then when it was reintroduced in the early 2000s, I ate that shit up. I loved it. Jar Jar and all. I love Jar Jar Binks. I was not one of those fans that had like eternal disdain for Jar Jar Binks. I didn't even learn that was a thing until I started branching out and meeting other Star Wars fans online. Right? And then that began to create that sentiment that Jar Jar is not a very popular character at all.
Yeah, you were in the minority for sure.
Absolutely, the decided minority.
I'm not even into Star Wars all like that, and I know you were definitely in the minority.
You know what I'm saying? But like I didn't know. Yeah. There weren't a million people raging online about how Jar Jar Binks sucks.
There wasn't,
and how Lucas should be put on trial for ever putting that character in. Yeah. Now, some of the context behind it, right? First of all, it was a black voice actor. Had no clue. And that honestly, it makes me feel even better that I liked Jar Jar, knowing that it was a black person who was putting the aesthetics on that character, and I didn't even know it. But
it's like
then
finding out Barney was black.
Fam, mine exploded when I found out Barney was black. Like, what? Excuse me? Elmo as well, right?
Yep.
What? But then it's like he got so much hate for that character, him personally, not George Lucas, who probably should have took the brunt for, oh, well, there's one other black Jedi in here or black character, but we'll just make him some duck-lipped buffoon, which again, entertained the hell out of me as a child. But then having to wear that and having to see all the fans that you were probably trying to please to your best of your ability turn against you, it made the man suicidal. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about this story. And so like I felt like that was a good homage to that man, and letting his face be seen and be connected into Star Wars canon is huge, because he actually did bring a bit of joy for me personally within the Star Wars genre. I know a lot of people can't attest to that or link with it, but for me personally, he did, and I didn't even know who he was while he was doing it. So if there was one person out there that he was trying to get Jar Jar Binks across to make them feel a little bit of something in those movie theaters while he was putting on his performance, he did it for me. So everybody's well apprised that David Lindelof and his guy that he wrote Game of Thrones with are no longer on their Star Wars project that's supposed to be coming out in 2025, and yet that project is still coming out. And what the tea leaves are saying is that is Kathleen Kennedy's last hurrah. Now, I don't know if that is, that's her swan song, because we were hearing that she was supposed to announce her retirement at Star Wars Celebration. Mm-hmm. But then now it's being painted as, this is her last chance. Chance for what exactly? Chance for what?
That's a nice little change of narrative right there.
after the umpteenth creator steps away from a Star Wars project. I mean, Jesus Christ. We went from Abrams to Johnson back to Abrams in the latest trilogy. Then Lindelof. Then Kevin Feige's project has been axed. There's some more people. Patty Jenkins. Which, and you know what? It's so funny because you would think, like, looking at that list, and you'd be like, man, it's just like she doesn't know how to work with people, or maybe she's rubbing people the wrong way. When I look at that list, I look at a lot of creators who have very popular projects outside of Lucasfilm. And then for some reason, when they work at Lucasfilm, their reputation takes a nosedive. Now, outside of maybe Patty Jenkins, she kind of did that on her own, right? Her joint never even we never even got there for her to have that nosedive. But Rian Johnson has made good movies outside of the Star Wars stuff. J.J. Abrams obviously is a huge name, and The Force Awakens was a good reintroduction. It was a good movie. It generally pleased old fans and new fans. We weren't doing all the character deconstruction shit. It was good. It was a good movie. Even with Rey as the protagonist, it was a good movie. And then something happened. Rian Johnson got his hands back on a Star Wars movie, and it all went to shit. They tried to get J.J. Abrams back to fix it in the Rise of Palpatine. It's probably more accurate. Rise of Skywalker, and Lord have mercy. Oh, my Star Wars soul. So, like, is it Kathleen Kennedy? Or is it that some of these creators are just not Star Wars guys or Star Wars people or adequate for Star Wars? Or, I don't know. I don't know. Something's not meshing. Because J.J. Abrams outside of Star Wars stuff, really outside of Rise of Skywalker, I'm relatively satisfied. Same thing with Rian Johnson. David Lindelof was good up until he ran out of material. Until there was that lull in between R.R. Martin releasing new books and them finishing up the Game of Thrones series. That's when things got a little messy for him. But up until then, he was doing great. I don't know what the hell's going on. And it doesn't seem like we're getting a clear answer on what's going on with Kathleen Kennedy. But I know between Star Wars and what's going on with Indiana Jones right now, who also had a TV series canceled this week.
Sheesh.
Surprise, surprise. Between those two franchises, we don't have anything definitively positive to take from either one of those massive IPs, which is kind of a failure. I mean, it just is. We're getting ready to talk about Victoria Alonso here in a minute, but if we're going to hold her accountable for, not being able to retain talent, for not putting up marquee projects, things that are driving the brand, driving merchandising, getting butts in seat, just general excitement around the brand, and she has none of that. Doesn't have any of that. So yeah, we're on Kathleen Kennedy watch here throughout the rest of the year because it's not looking too hot.
Well, in DC news, it looks like in some way, shape, or form, the hierarchy of power in the DC universe did actually change quite a bit.
Listen to me. First of all, Shazam is cratering. Like it is a floating turd in the toilet bowl. Oh my
really
God.
Bad. Really bad.
My goodness. Like I knew March was going to be a competitive month, with John Wick, obviously, but fam, this shit garboo-boo. It's nasty over there.
Yikes.
And its star, which is it's very telling why this went this way. But instead of maybe falling back or doing what the star he's criticizing did and appreciating whatever monicums of success that you did have, because at the end of the day there are still people that worked on this movie and put hundreds of thousands of man hours into creating it, and maybe just celebrate that part of it instead of trying to blame Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for your movie The movie you starred in. The movie you were in for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Because, he's flipping between the kid and him.
Yeah.
You were in this movie. You starred in it. You were in it. Okay? It wasn't named Black Adam and Shazam. This wasn't Hobbs and Shaw. Okay? We all understand if you know the comics, right? Black Adam, Shazam, and Captain Marvel, that's a thing, right? They are mortal enemies. They both have the lightning insignia on there. They both get their powers from the wizard, right? So, yes, there was a natural confluence between those two characters that you would have liked to see happen. Having Cyclone and Hawkeye or Hawkman in your post-credit scenes were not saving that damn movie.
Plus, that was supposed to happen in the post-credit scene, which doesn't change.
I would have had to watch
whatsoever.
the entire shit movie to even get to that, for it to make sense. And then you're telling me it would have been exactly the same, only the two characters that were talking to Billy Batson doing stupid shit at the end of the movie just would have been Aldous Hodge and the chick who played Cyclone. Woo!
So just forget the whole movie. Just show me the post-credit scene.
Fam,
apparently.
The reason why The Rock didn't want anything to do with your IP is because it is decidedly unserious. And the reason why he didn't want to put those characters, we get ready to break this whole Dwayne The Rock Johnson and DC thing down in a second. But the reason why he didn't want to do it is because he didn't believe in it. And I would say he's right not to believe in it because of the direction that y'all went in. Mm-hmm. The product that you were offering up for him to be involved in. It's not even close of what he was trying to do versus what you were trying to do. It's not in the same realm at all. He doesn't want dream cameos of Wonder Woman's back head in the same movie with this badass character. That's not what he wanted.
Yeah.
And I can't blame him for not wanting that because he wanted to be one of the alpha male characters, Superman, Batman. That's where he was trying to position his character. Now let's talk about what The Rock was actually doing with these characters, right? So The Rock has a production company. Mm-hmm. Under that production company, he has the control over the characters that he introduced in Black Adam. Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Cyclone, Atom Smasher, right? All of those, his characters, right? So that means he has some level of creative control. He decides where they go, where they appear, where they are used. Now, all of a sudden, The Rock is being painted as this egotistical, money-hungry, guy who just wants to have his stuff, right? And he wants to be controlled, and it was a power takeover at DC. Okay. Do you know who else has production companies where their characters and everything that they introduce within their movies that they produce, they have creative control over? James Gunn. Is he money hungry and egotistical and all of those other things that you were calling Dwayne The Rock Johnson? What about your boy Jon Favreau over at Lucasfilm? Because he has the same deal with Boba Fett, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and all of those characters in Grogu. That is literally the struggle that's happening at Disney and Lucasfilm right now over where to take Star Wars, because Favreau has a bit of control over where Grogu, Mando, Ahsoka, and so on, all the only relevant characters in Star Wars at this moment go, and what happens to them. So is Favreau and Filoni and company, are they the same? Everybody does this. Everybody does this. You make a movie, you put up money to produce it, you introduce characters in that movie, you now have a bit of control, a bit of hey, you have to ask me first. Is that so wrong? Or let me ask, we know it's not wrong for Favreau and Gunn and whoever else had the Snyder did the same thing. So when you like the guy, or and I'd hate to harken back to it, but if he has the lighter complexion, it's okay. But when it's Dwayne The Rock Johnson trying to put his production company in, trying to get a foothold within DC, it's wrong.
He's greedy.
He's greedy. So all of these other guys, they can get their piece of the pie. James Gunn can swoop in and essentially have full reign over DC. Literal, what you're trying to say Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is doing, James Gunn is already there. And it's okay. But Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the one who's screwing everything up, being greedy. Zachary Levy, whatever your name is, you can eat a dick. Get off of Instagram Live blaming another actor who is no longer involved with the studio that you work for your failure. That's weak sauce, bro. That is weak sauce.
Big weak sauce.
I don't want to hear that. And it's probably a good thing that you're wrapping up Shazam now, because I don't know if I'd be patronizing you anymore for that. That is below lowbrow.
Yeah.
Plus, posting shit on like, yeah, I can confirm this, and then doing a lot like, fam, what is going on?
Over a post-credit scene.
Lord have mercy. Oh my God. Yeah, I know what the director meant now. I know what he meant. No, he was absolutely serious. I knew exactly where this shit show was going, so I'm not surprised about the reaction.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it, fam. Go back to making
he got his money.
Whatever you were making before.
On to Marvel news. Which would you like to talk about first? Between Victoria Alonso and...
Oh man. Yeah, no, we gotta talk about Miss Vicky. You have to.
All right.
Have to. That's the biggest news coming out of Marvel right now, other than the 4,000 additional layoffs that are coming. But you know,
wow.
We'll pin that for after Victoria Alonso.
Sheesh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, you could theoretically see this as a balancing act, right? They know that they're going to axe a bunch more jobs. They're not bringing in any more money, or I shouldn't say any more money, but they're not bringing in the profits that they would need to sustain. Mm-hmm. Like they were already at a deficit coming into this year, and nothing that they've put out has. I don't think they've grossed a profit theatrically with Ant-Man yet. And it's fighting, and we know none of the shows have done anything for the streaming service. So yeah, they're probably still at a deficit. So more jobs, and if you're going to do that to all the normal people, the janitors, the accountants, the HR people, then yeah, there's going to be an executive that gets their head ate. Probably a few.
Yeah,
probably a few, and that's where Miss Kennedy probably rears back up. But in any case, with Victoria Alonso. She was head of VFX. And physical production. So right away, that's an alarm bell, right? Because what has been some of the most lackluster or high up on the list of lackluster for Disney in this last phase and a half. And it has been the special effects. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Over usage of the volume, really being spread out too thin with trying to churn out these projects and then doing it at a subpar level. MODOK comes to mind. She-Hulk comes to mind. It is also said that Miss Alonso, and I'm gonna tread lightly here because I really want to be careful about how I'm presenting this. Right, she was the kind of champion of diversity. Right, she was the person who was going out there and trying to make Marvel more female and, you know, more non-white and what have you, and really being the pusher for these initiatives. Also the mantle pushing stuff, right? She was big on that. And her influence, if that is the case, was felt in the last phase and a half.
Yeah.
But it's also saying that she was the arbiter of some of the most toxic work environments at Marvel. Right, not just with the VFX artists, but creating a blacklist for employees that pissed her off.
Oh,
yeah, essentially blackballing people out of the industry when they crossed her.
We don't have any names from that, do we?
We don't have any exact names on it, but so here you have these two conflicting schools of thought. You have the ultra inclusive and diverse person who's out here telling people that, oh, we can't. That's an interesting name about the X-Men because there are female characters. Woman?
Yikes.
If you don't get your ass on with that shit,
Yikes.
It's just, usually there's a tail. If someone really cares about the issues that they espouse or that they champion, there either be a tale that they're really honest about it, or maybe it's a step on the ladder that helps them climb up. I don't know Victoria Alonso. I don't have any direct sources on who she was or how it was working with her. But that confluence of what people are saying about her on both sides, that she was the social justice warrior of Marvel, but at the same time one of the most toxic individuals there, seems to lead me to believe that she's much closer to Candace Owens than Sister Soldier. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be out here blacklisting people, but also talking about diversity and inclusion. That's not diverse, nor is it inclusive. People who piss me off don't work. That is completely antithetical to any type of diversity that you're trying to harbor.
You're trying to show that you're open-minded, and yet you're clearly not.
But then on top of that, your version of diversity is, oh, well, we need more women at the forefront, so they'll assume all the male roles that were popular. It doesn't work. Not aesthetically, not fiscally.
No.
Like, let's talk about what Marvel was purchased for by Disney, right? Disney, pre-MCU, was family entertainment, and the Disney princesses in the Disney animation were the decided girl line. That was the product driver for girls at Disney, right? The Disney princesses, all of the animated films, Aladdin, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Cinderella, Little Mermaid. It was a female-driven line. So to balance that out and to stay within family entertainment, they decided to pick up all the superheroes to market to the boys. You have the Disney princesses for the girls. You have all of the superheroes for the boys. Well, as that money train got going, they got thinking like, why do we have to do superheroes only for boys? We can do superheroes for this group and this group and this group and this group, which makes sense until you flip it completely on its head. Now, your product driver, which was young men, ends up being the bottom of the totem pole, and everything else matters more, right? Like we're saying that, it's okay. We can have Thor, we can have all of these characters, but now it's going to be Lady Thor. It's going to be Lady Black Panther. Instead of giving us characters that are already female, giving us the characters that are already gay or whatever, these characters already exist in the comic books. And so if you would make them the way the stories already exist, you would have exactly what you want. Inclusive, diverse characters with diverse backgrounds that can attract the audiences. But instead, what she chose to do was to flip the dynamics, which again doesn't work aesthetically because those characters were never that popular. Jane Foster Thor was never that popular. All right, like Shuri as Black Panther did not last that long. So it wasn't even a well thought out marketing map because we've never seen it work that way. Mm-hmm. You know who did work? Storm, Jean Grey, Emma Frost. You know what I'm saying? Original female characters, not Jane Foster's Thor. And that showed itself to be proven right in the box office. Yeah. It's not that people don't want to see women in film. It's not that people don't want to see women superheroes. But there are women superheroes that we would much rather see over the mantle swaps that you chose to go with.
Absolutely.
And that falls, it's seeming like, at Victoria Alonso's feet. Now, one person who seems to be skirting all the blame here, and the only consequence we seem to have seen for Marvel burning at the moment is Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige's repercussions is, no, You don't get to do a Star Wars. You need to focus. Victoria Alonso's smack was, get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? So it's very telling that that person's name keeps getting left out of these conversations about why Marvel looks the way it is. Oh, he gets the deference. It's, oh, he's spread too thin. Fam, hey, pick one and fix it so that I know you're still alive. Right? Don't tell me that you're spread too thin. Okay, pick something, fix it so that I know you can still fix it. Because right now it seems like there's a lot of blame going around at Marvel. Everybody's catching it. Even Bob Iger is catching it. Feige's not.
Well, considering he wanted to be the king of everything.
Yeah, fam.
And that's not going to happen now.
I'm going to need the fire under Feige's butt to warm up here, too. Because while Victoria Alonso might have been the diversity shield there, Kevin Feige is the guy who's supposed to be saying yes or no. And at the end of the day, if that's the case, we got to address that.
Yeah.
We got to address that.
For sure. Jonathan Majors.
Yo.
Apparently got arrested for strangulation, harassment, and some other things, apparently.
Man.
At the height of his
This couldn't have happened at a worse time. This
Yeah.
couldn't have happened at a worse time. Now, I'm not going to make no declarations, right? Because I don't know. There isn't a video of this man strangling anyone. And he says it's a misunderstanding as of right now. So until I see otherwise, that's what I'm going to assume is happening.
Yeah.
I'm not going to jump into the pit because as we've seen as late of this week, the guy from Rick and Morty got cleared of all charges.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Fired and summarily denounced by everyone who had an association with this man, and he's been cleared of all charges?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, no, not jumping into the fire. But conversely, my morality doesn't change from people that I don't like, i.e. Ezra Miller, to people that I do care for, like Jonathan Majors. Mm-hmm. So if this is true, then yeah, he should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, just like Ezra Miller should.
Yeah. And he'd be done for doing it at said height.
But I don't know. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
All I know is that a couple tweets from some outlets came out yesterday that Jonathan Majors got arrested. And I said, damn.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know right now.
Yeah.
And so it really, I'm just urging people to let this shit play out the way it's supposed to and then act accordingly. But right now we don't know nothing. And I am sick and tired of seeing people having their careers snatched away and their lives ruined and come to find out that they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And that's just not fair to do to people when there are people that we know did do wrong and they're being protected.
Yeah. And they're not getting any kind of consequence from it.
John Wick is awesome. Review coming soon.
Yeah, John Wick is a superhero. So he's definitely got superpowers when it comes to...
We did Star Wars. We did DC. We got Marvel. I think we hit all the big ones. Let us know if we missed anything. Give us your thoughts on what we did discuss in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Come back every week for another Behind the Cape episode.
Absolutely. Make sure that you check out our previous video here on Marvel's Behind the Cape, or just Behind the Cape in general, because we talk about everything. And then make sure you subscribe. Like he said, we like to do this every week.